There are places on this earth where the ground remembers everything, where stone keeps the memory of ice that pressed down for 1,000,000 years, where water has carved its name so deep into the land that even the sky bends down to listen. This is Norway. Not the Norway of postcards or travel brochures, the real one. The one that existed long before humans gave it a name. The one that will exist long after we are gone. These fjords were not made by gentle hands. They were gouged, ripped, torn from the bedrock by glaciers the size of mountain ranges, rivers of ice so heavy they bent the crust of the planet itself. For 2.5 million years, the ice came and went like breath. Each time it moved, it took the land with it. Each time it retreated, it left behind wounds so beautiful they make you forget they were born from violence. What remains is not destruction, it is sculpture. The Sognefjord runs 127 miles inland, cutting through the heart of Norway like a vein of liquid silver. In places, it reaches depths of 4,300 feet. Is Norway the most beautiful country in the world? This is patience made visible. This is time you can touch. Stone does not hurry. Water does not rush its work. The fjords are still being carved, even now, even as you read these words, millimeter by millimeter, year by year, century by century. The conversation between ice and rock continues in a language older than words. Walk to the edge of Preikestolen, the pulpit rock, and look down. 1,982 feet of empty air between you and the green water below. The cliff face is flat as a table, as if some ancient god took a knife and sliced the mountain clean. Stand there long enough and you begin to understand something the modern world has forgotten, that permanence is an illusion, that mountains are temporary, that even granite, hard as death, bows to time, that everything solid is actually moving, just too slowly for human eyes to see. The people who live here know this in their bones. They build small wooden houses in the shadow of these granite giants, red and white and yellow, like flowers planted at the feet of gods. They do not try to compete. They do not try to conquer. They simply exist alongside forces older than memory. In the village of Garanger, children grow up with waterfalls as their neighbors. The 7 sisters cascade down the cliff face across the fjord, eternal bridesmaids dressed in white lace. The water falls 800 feet and the sound never stops, day or night, summer or winter. It becomes the heartbeat of the place. Oslo does not look like a capital city. Not in the way Paris or London do. There are no grand boulevards lined with imperial architecture, no monuments to conquest or dominance. Just a city of 700,000 people tucked between forest and fjord, built on a human scale, designed for living rather than impressing. Walk through the streets on a Tuesday morning and you see it. People on bicycles, even in winter. Trams gliding silent on electric rails. Cafes where strangers share tables and talk like neighbors. A pace that feels deliberate, unhurried, sane. The Oslo Opera House sits at the edge of the harbor. A building made of white marble and glass that looks like an iceberg run aground. You can walk on the roof, climb the slope right up to the top, and stand there looking out at the fjord with the city behind you. It is public space. It belongs to everyone. That is the point. Bergen, 5 hours west by train, is older and wetter and somehow even more Norwegian. It rains 239 days a year. The locals do not complain. They just buy better jackets and keep moving. The old wharf, Briggen, is a row of wooden buildings painted red and yellow and white, leaning against each other like old friends who have had too much to drink. They date back to the 14th century, when Bergen was the center of the Hanseatic League's cod trade. Fish made this city rich. Tromsø sits 200 miles north of the Arctic Circle, a city of 77,000 that should not exist but does anyway. In winter, the sun does not rise for 2 months. The people who live here operate on rhythms that have nothing to do with the clock and everything to do with the sky. And when the sun finally returns in late January, the entire city stops. Schools close, offices empty. Everyone goes outside to stand in the light like flowers turning toward warmth. Because in Tromsø, you do not take sunshine for granted. You stop, you feel it on your face. You remember that you are alive. The Atlantic Ocean Road is 5.2 miles of asphalt that connects small islands off the northwest coast. 8 bridges leaping from rock to rock across open water. Waves crashing over the pavement in storms. The road twisting and rising and falling like something alive. They built it in 6 years through the 1980s. 12 hurricanes hit during construction. Any sane person would have quit. Norwegians are not sane. They are stubborn. The Trollstigen, the Troll's Ladder, is another example. A mountain road with 11 hairpin turns, climbing 2,800 feet up a cliff face. The road is 10 feet wide in places. There are no guardrails on the early sections because if you were going to fall, a metal railing would not save you anyway. At the top, there is a viewing platform cantilevered out over the void. Stand there and look down at the road you just drove. It looks impossible. It looks like someone drew it as a joke, and then engineers took the joke seriously. Norway has the world's longest road tunnel. The Lærdal Tunnel, 15 miles of bored rock. Inside, every 4 miles, there are caverns lit in blue and yellow to keep drivers alert, to remind them they are still on Earth and not in some underworld passage. The infrastructure is not just functional, it is beautiful. The rest stop viewpoints are designed by architects. The bridges are sculptures in steel and concrete. This is a country that believes if you are going to build something, you might as well make it worth looking at. In the far north, summer breaks every rule you thought you knew about time. The sun refuses to set. It touches the horizon like a hand reaching for something it cannot quite grasp, and then it changes its mind. It rolls along the edge of the world like a ball of fire that forgot how to fall. This is not a sunset. This is not a sunrise. This is something else entirely, something that has no name in languages spoken further south. For weeks, the light simply continues. It bends around the curve of the earth. It stretches across the sky in shades of gold and copper and rose that painters spend lifetimes trying to capture. It turns night into a strange amber dream where sleep becomes optional and time loses its shape. The Sami people, the indigenous reindeer herders of the Arctic, have lived with this paradox for thousands of years. They do not fight it. They flow with it like water around stone. They followed the light. They followed the herds. They follow patterns written into the land and the seasons long before borders or nations or the idea of Norway itself existed. And when the sun stays, life explodes. The tundra erupts in color. Purple saxifrage, yellow Arctic poppies, white mountain avens. Flowers that have been waiting underground all winter burst through the soil like they are racing against time itself, because they are. These are the waters that forged a people who refuse to stay still. 1,000 years ago, when most of Europe huddled behind stone walls and prayed for protection, the Norse took to the sea in wooden ships that had no business surviving the open ocean. They sailed west into emptiness, guided by nothing but stars and waves and the flight patterns of birds. They were not gods. They were farmers who ran out of land, fishermen who got curious, traders who realized the world was bigger than the fjord they were born in, and they changed everything. The Vikings are easy to caricature. Hollywood has done it 1,000 times. Horned helmets that they never actually wore, barbaric raiders who burned and pillaged for the fun of it. The truth is more complicated and far more interesting. Yes, they raided. They were brilliant at violence when violence was needed. The monastery at Lindisfarne learned that in 793 when dragon-prowed ships appeared out of the morning mist and changed the course of English history. Modern Norway inherited that Viking stubbornness and turned it into policy. The most radical example is something called allemannsretten, the right to roam. It means that every beach, every forest, every mountain belongs to everyone. You can walk anywhere, camp anywhere, pick berries anywhere. As long as you respect the land and stay a reasonable distance from private homes, the entire country is yours to explore. No fences, no keep-out signs, no private property billionaires hoarding coastline. Think about that for a moment. Really think about it. In a world that fences everything, that privatizes every inch of beauty, that turns nature into something you have to pay to access, Norway said no. The land is common. The land is shared. The land does not belong to you. You belong to it. This is not romanticism. This is philosophy made law. It says that wealth means nothing if it walls you away from the world, that freedom is not something you purchase. It is something you practice every day, in every step you take on earth, that no one can forbid you from walking. There are moments when the universe shows its hand, when the invisible becomes visible, when science and magic collapse into the same thing, and you realize that the border between them was always just a trick of limited perception. The Aurora Borealis is one of those moments. You cannot prepare for it, not really. You can read the science, you can understand that it is plasma. Charged particles from the sun colliding with the atmosphere at 45 million miles per hour. You can know that oxygen glows green and nitrogen glows purple, and that the whole spectacle is just physics doing what physics does. The aurora is Norway's reminder that the world is stranger and more beautiful than your daily life allows you to remember, that magic is real if you use the word correctly, that the universe is not cold and mechanical and dead. It is alive, it is dancing, and if you go far enough north and wait long enough in the dark, it will show you something that changes you forever. In 1969, they found oil beneath the North Sea. Enough oil to turn a small, quiet country of fishermen and farmers into one of the richest nations on Earth. Enough to corrupt, enough to ruin, enough to repeat every mistake that resource wealth has caused throughout human history. The oil curse, they call it, the paradox of plenty. Look at Venezuela, look at Nigeria, look at any country that struck black gold and watch how quickly wealth turns to poison. Norway did something different. They created the Government Pension Fund Global, a sovereign wealth fund seeded by oil revenue. Today, it holds over $1.5 trillion, the largest fund of its kind in the world. It owns 1.5% of every publicly traded company on the planet. But here is what matters. Here is what makes Norway different. You would not know it by looking. Norwegian cities do not glitter with gold towers. The streets are not clogged with Ferraris. The wealthy do not build compounds or fly private jets or display their money like plumage. Why is Norway so expensive? Oslo looks like a nice mid-sized European city. Clean, functional, pleasant, not opulent, because the oil money did not create a plutocracy. It created something quieter and infinitely more radical: universal health care. Free university education, parental leave that lets both parents actually raise their children. Infrastructure that works, a social safety net so strong that poverty, real grinding poverty, almost does not exist. They chose the future over the present. They chose everyone over the few, and they did it not because Norwegians are inherently more moral than anyone else, but because they remember what it means to live in a place that does not forgive mistakes. In the Arctic, hubris kills. Individualism kills. The man who thinks he does not need his neighbors freezes to death in the first winter storm. Cooperation is not ideology in Norway. It is survival strategy written into the culture over 1,000 years of living in a place that is beautiful and brutal in equal measure. So when the oil came, they already had the framework. They already understood that wealth is not what you hoard, it is what you share. That strength is not what you take, it is what you build together. The fund has rules, strict ones. The government can only spend 3% of it each year, roughly the expected return on investment. The rest stays invested, growing, waiting for the day when the oil runs out. Because they know it will run out. Everything does. And when it does, Norway will still be there. Not as an oil state, but as a country that used its windfall to build something that lasts. Walk through any Norwegian town and you see it. Schools that look like universities, libraries that look like cathedrals to knowledge, public transportation that is clean and efficient and on time. But more than that, you see something harder to quantify. You see people who are not desperate, who are not clawing over each other for scraps, who have time to think about things other than survival. You see a society that has made a collective decision that no one should fall through the cracks, that a single mother should not have to choose between feeding her children and taking them to the doctor, that education should not be a luxury, that dignity is not something you earn, it is something you are born with. This is the wisdom of the North made policy. And still, with all this prosperity, with all this wealth, the land remains wild. Because they understand that money means nothing if you lose the thing that made you in the first place. The cold, the stone, the water, the light. Norway does not conquer nature, it negotiates. It builds around it. It leaves room for the wild to stay wild. Because a country without wilderness is just a bank with a flag. Norway remembers. Here, time is measured in the movement of ice, in the erosion of stone, in the patient return of light after months of dark. The glacier does not hurry. It moves a few centimeters each year and thinks nothing of it. It has been here for 10,000 years and will be here for 10,000 more. Or it will not, and either way, it does not rush. The fjord does not stress. The water sits cold and still, reflecting mountains that have not changed in 1,000,000 years. It does not worry about tomorrow. It simply is. The mountain does not check its watch. It does not have goals or quarterly targets. It stands, it weathers, it endures. Norway isn't just a destination, it's a feeling. The fjords, the mountains, the cold wind, everything here feels unreal. Every road we traveled, every view we captured, felt like nature was showing us its best secret. And maybe that's why Norway is special, because it doesn't need to be loud to be beautiful. As this journey ends, one thing is sure: Norway stays in your mind long after you leave. So thank you for watching, and thank you for traveling with me. Until the next adventure, stay safe, stay curious, and keep exploring.